A little about myself: I graduated from Boise State University in 2010, and I've worked for Intermountain Slurry Cell ever since. I'm currently one of our area managers working out of our Reno, Nevada office. Today I have the pleasure of presenting to you the Glacier National Park Pavement Preservation Project that we were awarded the Glacier National Park Pavement Preservation Project by the Federal Highway Administration in October of 2018. The nearly $9 million project began in May of 2019, and we completed it in July of 2020. The project was contracted for 2 years due to the level of difficulty and inclement weather the Glacier National Park receives. Intermountain exceeded expectations by completing the project on time, under budget, and had zero safety or environmental issues. Many contractors and agencies familiar with the project believed there was little to no chance the project could be completed on time. The harsh environment working over the Continental Divide on the historical Going to the Sun Road provided the most difficult paving project we have ever completed. The project encompassed each of the preservation techniques represented by the ISSA, and Intermountain performed them with a level of mastery and excellent workmanship and demonstrated operational excellence. The scope of work and use of preservation techniques on this project are a testament of the true value pavement preservation can provide an agency. Chris Rossmiller with the Federal Highway Administration said the following: "The overall success of this project was a direct result of the great collaboration, dedication, foresight, expertise, and commitment to excellence Intermountain provided throughout the project." The project was completed at the historic Glacier National Park located in northern Montana near the U.S.-Canadian border, which included the preservation of roadways, campgrounds, parking areas, and vehicle pullouts. A large portion of the project was located between West Glacier, Montana and St. Mary's, Montana on the renowned Going to the Sun Road, which traverses across a portion of the Rocky Mountains. Other noteworthy locations completed were Many Glacier Road and Chief Mountain International Highway, which serves as a link between Highway 89 and the U.S.-Canadian border. Glacier's crown jewel is the historic Going to the Sun Road, where elevations can change from 3,200 feet up to above 6,600 feet at Logan's Pass. Going to the Sun Road, often referred to as the Sun Road, is one of the most difficult roads in North America to maintain, where snowfall can accumulate up to 80 feet high. The Sun Road experiences late winter avalanches and year-round snow runoff that riddles the roadway with fallen rocks and debris. The road in locations is narrow and winding, causing vehicles to be limited in sizes with their width and height. Federal Highway Administration scoped Type 3 microsurfacing as a preservation treatment on the road that has been open since 1933. Intermountain's success on completing the project was bound to Glacier's unpredictable weather and the logistical coordination of paving Going to the Sun Road. In May through September 2019, Intermountain performed approximately 660,000 square yards of Type 3 microsurfacing, 210,000 square yards of Type 2 microsurfacing, crack sealing and filling, and other subcontracted items. 370,000 square yards of chip seal were completed in the 2020 construction season by the July 8, 2020 completion milestone. Intermountain set up and mobilized to 3 different staging areas to complete the 83.2 mile project. The National Park Service allowed staging areas near Glacier National Park's west entrance, 24 miles into the park off Going to the Sun Road, and in Babb, Montana at the east end of the project. Careful scheduling and executing Going to the Sun's paving plan was pivotal. Schellinger Construction out of Columbia Falls, Montana provided the Type 2, Type 3 microsurfacing aggregates as well as the chips required for the chip seal. The emulsion was provided by McAsphalt Industries out of Calgary, Canada. McAsphalt Industries worked closely with Intermountain Slurry Seal to create a daytime formulation as well as a nighttime formulation. The chip seal emulsion was provided by Idaho Asphalt out of Hauser, Idaho. Several time constraints were set forth in the contract special provisions. One was crucial and key to finishing the job on time. It was dependent on the National Park Service's ability to clear the snowpack at higher elevations and tied to the unknown weather conditions to follow. Route 10, Going to the Sun Road, is kept closed from mid-October to mid-June from milepost 16.3 to milepost 36.2. In the spring, the park employees plow the snow off the roadway, sometimes only advancing 500 feet per day. During this time, the National Park Service sweeps the entire road, removing fallen rocks, uninstall snow poles that mark the edge of the roadway, and install a log guardrail they removed in the fall for sections prone to avalanches. July 13th of 2011 marks the record for the latest opening of the roadway since its inaugural in 1933. Our challenge was to finish microsurfacing this section by June 21st in winter-like conditions and behind the National Park Service's operations plowing the roadway and installing the guardrail. Opening this section of the roadway early is vital to the national park. It's the main attraction for millions of tourists from all over the world where they come to relish in the beauty of the Glacier National Park. The contract's prosecution in progress offered a second chance of completing this section in September, but we knew the risk of placing microsurfacing that late in the year, just before snowfall. Intermountain witnessed several unfortunate incidents in the park throughout the life of the project. These events were not job-related, but portrayed the dangers the whole team faced working in such a remote area. The severity of these incidents ranged from cars going over several hundred-foot embankments, head-on collisions and tight hairpin turns, to a large rock falling and causing a fatality. This route has restrictions that are in place for obvious reasons. Our equipment is well over these restrictions, therefore special consideration and planning had to be taken to complete the job. Extra care and time were taken to follow our approved safety, injury, and illness plans to avoid any accident from happening. Wildlife is present in all areas of the park, including bighorn sheep, grizzly bears, and black bears. They are present everywhere within the park and can show up when least expected and create imminent danger. Special precaution and awareness had to be taken of the surroundings to avoid any accident, especially working at night. Bear-proof containers were implemented while storing materials, and all employees were given an orientation by the park of the abundance of wildlife and precautions to follow if confronted by the wildlife. Specifications and special contract requirements called out several requirements we have not seen in many other contracts due to Glacier's pristine environment. These requirements help keep the park looking natural and safeguard all existing features. Equipment inspections to prevent the intrusion of noxious weeds were undergone, along with a 24-hour decontamination process of all of our water tanks to prevent any parasites from intruding Glacier's bodies of water. A special plan had to be implemented to show the protection of property and the environment, along with a plan to prove how we would prevent any spilling of materials onto existing features such as masonry, rock walls, and sidewalks. Going to the Sun Road's Alpine section has various challenges, from continuous snowmelt running over the roadway to extreme weather looming in the blink of an eye. Stringent time constraints were placed on this section of road, and the National Park Service has a tremendous amount of work to undertake every year to prepare for their opening. The time frames allowed Intermountain to work in the Alpine section overlap with the National Park Service's operation. We proposed working at night past the 21st of June time constraint. This proposal allowed for more time in the warmer months and would also grant the opportunity to produce quality work while avoiding a territory struggle between us and the National Park Service working in the same locations. The Federal Highway Administration stressed the importance of protecting historical features within the park to Intermountain during the pre-construction meeting. The main concern was being able to place the microsurfacing adjacent to the miles of historic masonry wall that runs along going to the Sun Road. Intermountain understands the unfortunate events that weather can cause while microsurfacing, but also the importance of protecting any small splashes of emulsion that a spreader box can emit. Intermountain retrofitted their spreader boxes to be encased in rubber and prevent any emulsion from splashing out. Going to the Sun Road is a heavily traveled two-lane road with many narrow areas, causing the need for traffic control devices to be placed on the center line of the roadway to not impede traffic. The spreader box was running over traffic control devices, and rather than put an employee in harm's way, Intermountain came up with an innovative idea of welding a cone pusher to the outside of the spreader box. Intermountain fabricated the pusher and implemented it on the project with great success. The team's goal in Glacier was to keep it just as they found it, historical and beautiful. This required slowing down production and taking valuable time to cover curb and gutter, sidewalks, and the miles of masonry wall that follows the Sun Road. Innovative supplies and techniques were purchased and developed to help the team with their goal. The Sun Road has thousands of snow pole holders throughout its length that created a new challenge for us. The holders had to be protected and uncovered prior and after the microsurfacing treatment. The crew used solo cups to stick down into the holes, allowing the holes to be easily located and preserved after the microsurfacing. The most strenuous portion of the project was a labor-intensive 9-mile intermittent section of pavement next to the rock cliff face. The pavement runs adjacent to the Sun Road, following a jagged path underneath rock overhangs and inundated with vegetation, rocks, and dirt. The falling rocks and necessity of performing the work at night made for a risky operation. The crew was separated into a cleaning crew and a paving crew. Once the pavement was cleaned and prepped, Intermountain's pavement crew would drop windrows of material and squeegee the material by hand next to the rock face. On a good night, we would place a meager 1 to 2 trucks of material, an average only 7/10 of a mile per night. Another challenging area was on Chief Mountain International Highway at the U.S.-Canadian border. The work between the border crossing gate and the U.S. Port of Entry inspection station had to be completed between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. prior to June 30th, 2019. Intermountain's truck mount pavers were retrofitted with extra lighting and worked closely with the Border Patrol officers to complete this portion of the project, with average temperatures as low as 40 degrees and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. The nighttime Type 3 microsurfacing in the 9-mile Alpine section was the most difficult paving we have ever completed. The crew equipped extra lighting to the continuous paving equipment to help drivers navigate the masonry wall and guardrail. Certain hairpin turns did not allow the continuous operation to perform as usual. This required the paver to unhook the supply trucks as they rounded sharp corners and reconnect them once the corners were cleared. The road is so narrow in sections there is not enough room for trucks to pass by one another. While paving, the drivers had to carefully coordinate areas wide enough to allow for passing. Each round of trucks had to be piloted to and from the stockyard, and the material was placed one round at a time. After a round of trucks was placed, they would travel to designated safe areas large enough to turn around and be piloted back to refill material. The contract in this 9-mile section allowed for truck mount equipment to be used due to our equipment sizes and logistics of paving. But with the limited amount of time of completing the project and the desired aesthetics, Intermountain completed more than 75% of this section with continuous equipment. Sections of the Going to the Sun Road had constant water running across the pavement that never completely dried. Intermountain fabricated temporary dikes to divert the water running in these sections just long enough to place material and allow it to cure. A few areas scoped required a small crew to mobilize back in 2020 to complete, where the same innovative process was followed. Glacier National Park weather is unpredictable and very difficult to plan around. At any time, the crews had to be prepared to shut down immediately with no radar and relying on the old-fashioned way of judging the clouds. In early May of 2019, while Schellinger Construction was performing asphalt patching on the east side of the project, construction was temporarily suspended due to a blizzard that delivered over 2 feet of snow. This is only one example of many. Almost every day of operations, the crew were at risk of a torrential downpour or even a snowstorm. Glacier National Park has historically recorded snowfall at least once each calendar day of the year. Thank you so very much for listening to my presentation. Please stay tuned for some photos of the project.